Hey, everybody, welcome to The Thirsty Professional. My very special guest today, Ariana Gibbs. But first, I've got a new intro to kick off today's episode. I'm so excited. Let's check it out. It'll be really, really quick. I will see you on the other side.
Welcome to the space where truth is poured. No corporate scripts, just tales explored. From passion quest to purpose found, the thirsty professional breaks new ground. So fill your cup, let's have a chat about careers, life, and all of that.
Oh, that was so fun. I'll talk about that in a second. Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Thirsty Professional, where we grab a bevy, we ditch the BS, and we get real about careers, purpose, and passion. I'm your host, Beth Ann Campbell, former corporate queen who traded in her crown for a pen and a microphone, author of the award-winning Where the Hell is My Bacon? Great corporate book for your friends who are challenged right now. If you're watching live, let us know you're here in the comments, where you're from, and most importantly, what are you drinking? If you're watching the replay, please give us a hashtag replay. And of course, let us know if you have any questions or feedback so we can address it during the live stream. Before I introduce my amazing guest, I want to shout out to Lion Flood. Lion Flood was my guest episode 9. Check out the replay on YouTube. He created that amazing theme song that is now my intro. Please forgive my very rookie video skills. I really wanted to get it out for this episode, so I just kind of did a quick and dirty. I think it's kind of cute, and make sure you watch at the end. There's just a quick little 30-second ending, and at the very end, there's a little surprise for y'all. So just take a look at that. Thank you so much, Lion. You rock. All right, today, my very, 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 very special guest on The Thirsty Professional is Ariana Badass Gibbs. And yes, that is her legal middle name, is Badass. I don't know if it's possible to be more excited than my normal excitement about an episode of The Thirsty Professional. Ariana happens to be a very good friend of mine. Actually, we've actually met in person. This is my first guest that I've actually met in person, which is an amazing statement about our global networking. We've known each other for, I don't know, I think like close to 20 years. We met in Michigan, a mutual friend. I love her like a sister. She is a lot of peace, love, and light, but also a good amount of go fuck yourself, which is not unlike myself, probably why we get along so well. Ariana is a dedicated real estate professional, licensed in Florida and Michigan here in the US, also has some info ties in with Ohio. She transitioned to real estate by way of buying, selling, and renovating historic properties, and I've seen some of her house flips. Amazing. She's also a former Disney cast member. What? Yes. And also very much involved in community revitalization, Habitat for Humanity, because she's just such a kind soul. And yes, there's more. She is a total badass and alien encounters, which we're going to talk about so much. So I'm going to just get around here so we can start diving into this stuff. Please welcome my dear friend, Ariana Gibbs. Ariana, welcome.
What's up? Hi. I love the intro. Thank you. That was amazing, and I loved your musical intro.
Thank you. Thank you.
Totally.
Yeah. That was I'm trying to move my screen around here so I'm
Yeah.
looking more at you here because my composer or creator of my music, Lion Flood, is gonna he's always telling me, you have to center so you look at people. Yeah,
Absolutely.
you look adorable, by the way. I
Thank
love
you. Thank
love
you.
thank you for playing along. I love it when my guests are, not required, and I've had some amazing guests, but I love the very Persephone hat that you've got on there. It's beautiful.
I decided to go with the pink motif, of course. No shock there.
So, of course, my first question for you is what are you drinking today?
Believe it or not, I am drinking in my cute little Disney mug here. Quick
Oh,
rep out to
shocking.
Disney.
Shocker. A
I
Disney mug.
believe in you. I actually have lemon water today because I am
Oh,
doing a little bit of a cleanse. So my lemon water, I've been trying to kick my caffeine addiction. None of
oh,
us are
I
getting any
wish.
younger.
I so
right?
wish. I've tried so many times. I've tried to go to tea, just don't like the tea. But you and I
Mhm.
were talking before we went live about the bloatedness that we experience as
Mhm.
women in our glory years. And I was just saying,
Yes.
the lemon water I've heard great things about. I've done it myself a little bit, and I've also heard experiencing right now. I'm cutting back a little bit on the what do you call it? The refined carbs, the bread,
Mhm.
the sugars, and I will be tell you, it is amazing how much water weight gain that you get when you're eating a lot of that, especially those simple carbs. So. uh,
Agreed.
Anyway, so I want to just jump right in here because I put a
Yeah.
promo out and I thought, well, two things I want to talk about before we
Yeah.
dive in. And folks, Ariana, first of all, we'll bring her back for the stuff we don't get to, but also Ariana's a fast talker like myself, so we will get through this stuff very quickly. One of the things I was thinking about, and I want to start asking all my guests this because it occurs to me periodically as I am scrolling, which I try not to do a lot, but of course we all do.
Mhm.
Take a shit, you go in and you pull up the doom scroll, right? And it used to be a magazine or a book.
Yeah.
As our mutual friend Dwayne's was, we used to talk about. He used to visit us when we were when he was younger, and he would. I asked him one time if he remembered my mom having all the books, and he said, "Oh yeah, she had the Library of Congress in the bathroom." Because, but anyway, what are some of the
Yeah.
crazy things that you follow or are interested in on social media that would might surprise us?
Oh my goodness, that might surprise you.
Like,
Okay,
do you
so
do pimple popping like that? Like for me, which is no
yeah.
surprise, but I watch pimple
Yeah.
popping.
So I was on pimple popping TikTok for quite a while, and I think her name was Sandra. She has the
Oh
TV
yeah,
show on
Sandra Lee, yeah.
yes, Dr. Pimple Popper. And oh my gosh, that first of all, but also like, wow, like how did that come out of there? Like that's not even possible. Like I
Yeah,
need some kind of like physics expert, maybe like I don't know, some kind of scientist to tell me how it is possible that that stuff is in those little
I
spaces that
know.
she and I'm like, "Ugh."
And then she takes the stuff out with a local anesthetic is amazing to
I
me.
know. And
Like, just
uh,
we'll give you a little shot, and then we're gonna pour out this
mhm,
baseball size, cottage
correct.
cheese. Right?
Ugh. And then she's like describing the smell. And I'm like, you
Right,
know,
like Sandra, Dr. Sandra, we really don't need to go that far.
yeah, yeah.
So some of the things
Yeah.
that I was, so it occurs to me when I'm doing this, I'm like, this is just such a weird thing that I follow. But so
Mhm.
I like watching livestock hoof trimming. So, that where it's like maybe a
Yeah,
donkey or a horse has a crappy foot or
yeah.
an abscess. I watch a lot of how to tie scarves, even though I never remember how to do them when I put a scarf on. But there are a lot of great videos on just different cool ways to tie scarves, which
I
for
love
a
that.
realtor.
Mhm.
I watch learning ASL, even though I haven't really learned a lot. But I watch ASL and I'm trying to get a little bit better from people who are deaf teaching people. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
BETH.
yeah. Yeah, I think I
So
said hi, but I'm not
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
It's been a while.
I'm not even going to embarrass myself by some of the stuff I learned because I'll mess it up.
Yeah.
And then of course, baby goats, miniature animals, and I like
Yes.
watching hair cutting. Like I watch. There's a few people who specialize in curly hair, which it's just fascinating to me.
Mhm.
Also, I like watching. This is going to sound way out there. I like to watch Black moms fixing their daughter's hair because it's
Mhm.
just I don't know. I don't know. It probably sounds really horrible to even say that, but
No.
anyway,
It well, it's amazing. It's something that we didn't experience as children,
yeah.
and to
You
see that
didn't you
it's
didn't
no.
experience your mom yanking on your hair?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, there was
No,
no
but
love in that.
it's artwork. I mean, it's absolutely like the
Yeah.
things that like I read somewheres that they used to like encode messages like in their sewing and their hair in
Mm.
order to help other people. And I don't know if it was like an Underground Railroad thing or and I would have to double check my facts. This was a while ago, but it's absolutely fascinating and it's so beautiful. Like my hair, like This is it. This is every
Well,
single day. Like,
it's what
I
you were
don't get
born
fun
with.
stuff.
You and I
Yeah.
grew up in with hair and probably with parents, and in my case, my mom. I had very
Yeah.
long waist length hair when I was in kindergarten,
Hmm.
and it was just my she used to say this, and you probably heard this too, and some of you out there in the world listening probably heard this too. You must suffer to be beautiful. And that's what my mom
Yes.
would say when I would be crying. And
Yes.
then one time I got gum in it, and then when I got gum in it was not I
Oh.
mean, today it's like, "Oh
Mm.
my god, crisis, I gotta get the peanut butter, I'm gonna figure out how to get it
Hmm.
out." No, it was like, "All right, we're just cutting it off. We're just
Yes.
cutting it off."
Yep. Yep.
So,
That's that's accurate. Another thing I really love watching on TikTok, and this is
um,
so weird, but have you seen the rug cleaners where
yes,
they take
forgot
like,
about them. Yes, I
oh,
love the rug cleaners. It's
I have to
disgusting,
watch it
especially when you see
until
it come out and you're like, "That is pee. That is pee."
Woo! Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, I love that. And of course I watch a lot of like the home renovation series
Oh,
and
100%. You should have your own. We'll
uh,
talk about that in a minute, but you should have your own
yeah,
series.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that stuff. I do I before we get into, like, real estate stuff and other
Mhm.
stuff, I did put a post out about aliens and alien encounters. I just love this story because really your story changed my perspective on, I love
Okay, it's go time. Let's
Your
go.
story changed my perspective on believing in, visitation and extraterrestrial life. So tell our audience
Mhm.
briefly what you experienced with your
Okay,
family
I
when
can't
you were
see
young.
with those. So I we grew up in the country, way out in the country, and we were building a home. I was 12, my sister was 14ish, and as we were building this house, we lived in the house, and it was, I mean, it was rural. There was no street lights. It was dirt road to dirt road to dirt road. And there was one night my sister and I were laying in bed, and it was summertime. We didn't have windows yet. We just had a frame of a house that protected us mostly from the rain, and you could hear the crickets and you could hear all this noise, right? All the nighttime summer noises in Michigan, the frogs, whatever. And then all of a sudden it just kind of went, and it was complete silence. And then all of a sudden the sun was shining. And we were like, what the fuck? And this was like midnight. Like we couldn't sleep. It was hot. And we could hear our parents, and the door slams and opens, and we go running downstairs because we're like, what the heck's going on? We go outside, and there over our barn, which was the oldest barn in Eaton County at the time, it's been since demolished, but that's a whole different story. And there over the barn in complete silence was this glowing object, and it was completely silent, and it was just lit. It was literally just a glowing object that was just hanging in the sky. It wasn't moving. There was this gentle breeze coming off it, and it was just absolutely just miraculous. And our parents, my dad and my mom, were standing there, and my dad is like, Renee, get the camera, like nobody's gonna believe this, right? And my sister and I, and then he looked at us and he's like, you get the hell back in the house, because like our house with no windows was gonna totally protect us if they wanted to come take us. We've
Right.
all seen the videos, that doesn't work, right? And as we were kind of standing there backing up, we were being resistant, of course, because we were like, we want in on this, whatever this is, we want in. And then like maybe a minute later it just and was gone, just zoom, like just like that. And then all of a sudden, like all the night sounds came back, it was hot again, and we were like, uh, what the hell just happened?
Well, can I ask you, was the
Yeah.
light was it a singular light or was it multiple lights?
It was so bright, it looked like a
You could
singular light.
you can
You
okay.
couldn't tell.
And
No,
it was just kinda
no.
was it kinda just hovering over the roof of the barn in that
It
manner?
was. It was hovering, I would say no more than 20 feet above the roof of our barn. Like
And
you could touch it almost. You felt like, you
wow.
know,
And this is not the only time, right? You had
mm,
multiple
yes.
same thing?
Yes. So when my kids were young, I was driving. We also lived in the country not far from my dad down the road. And my daughter was probably 6 or 7, and we were on our way to pick up my son. And we were driving down this country road, and there was a forest on the side. And all of a sudden, hovering over that forest was another one of those glowing orbs. And I was like, holy shit, this is happening. And this time, like I was instantly like, my child is here. They're gonna take my like it was instantly like a little bit of
Yeah.
a panic,
Close
honestly,
encounters of the third
as
kind.
I'm driving, right? Yeah. And and all of a sudden, and it must have like I turned my bright lights on or something, and then all of a sudden it was just gone again. And there's just it doesn't move in a way that like it would be a helicopter or a
Yeah.
balloon. I mean, it's
You
literally
would
there one
hear
second and
you
gone
would
the
hear that,
next.
yeah. Did
Yeah.
did you when you were with your when you were living when you were a child, was there just the one
Mhm.
incident, or did you experience multiple incidents at your dad's house?
I I only experienced it that one time. However, since then, my father has seen it multiple times. And in fact, I theorize that's why he ended up bulldozing the barn, not quite because the barn was decrepit, but interestingly enough, my dad and I were talking about this about 6 months ago, and he's like, "Oh yeah, they were here again last summer." He's like, "Those damn annoying ass people. I don't know what the hell they want out of us." And if you met my dad, he's just like this, like very down to earth. He's a farmer. He wears bib overalls. He's just like, I don't know what the hell they're doing here again, but they were here last summer. He's like, they were back again. Like he's like annoyed because he didn't get a chance to bake them cookies and welcome them in, and they just keep showing up uninvited. And he's like, if they just told me they were coming, I could have made some cookies in a casserole. So yeah. And that wasn't the only time. I also, about 2 years after, with my daughter, I saw them yet again down the road near her best friend's house when I was on my way to pick her up.
Wow. So
Yeah.
this is why you would it changed for me because, not that I don't I mean, I was when we met, I was probably late 30s, early 40s, but the fact that you had multiple people and you've talked to them about it and corroborated, and your dad has seen it
Hmm.
multiple times and you've had multiple encounters, that's when I said, "Okay, that's when," because I think before then I was more or less, "Yeah, there's probably life out there, but nobody's visiting us." But then
Hmm.
after that, just because I knew you and I, trusted you, and you were not like 5, when people say, "Yeah, I had an
Right.
alien encounter when I was 4," and I'm like, okay, maybe, but
Right.
you were 12 and you've talked about it with your family members. So yeah, very, very,
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you. I'm gonna go to the
Oh, you're
comments real
welcome.
quick here.
Yeah.
We have Derek signing in. Good morning, Derek. Stella Scott. Hey there, eating a lunch and drinking water. So healthy. Stella, amazing headpiece, Ariana. Ariana, did
Oh,
you
thank you.
did you make that yourself?
I want to tell you I did, but no. No, I did not.
It's very Renaissance festival, fairy gods, what's
Yes.
Midsummer Night's Dream type of.
Yes. I loved it. And it's pink. And there's butterflies on this side.
Oh,
I
I love it.
know.
But it's also
Thank
not
you.
comfy, so she's not gonna
No.
wear it the whole time, and that's okay.
It's the menopause. It's like the hot flashes.
I
Like,
know, right? Oh
grr.
my god, girl. So
Yeah.
Stella says, "I never understood the addiction to pimple popping videos. Don't even do it myself, but the scarf thing, yes, I have too
Mm.
many. I do too, Stella,
Hmm.
and I never can remember. I watch these women tying scarves, and you can make little jackets out of them, and then I pull a scarf off of my massive collection, and I just forget. I forget how
Yep.
to do it, and usually I'm like, "Oh shit, I gotta start a podcast," and I don't have time, so
Yep.
anyways, okay, Ariana, so let's jump
Hmm.
into let's talk can we talk a little bit about let's let our audience know, level set, what do you do right now?
Yep. Well, right now I am located in the state of Florida, so I help people buy and sell properties. I walk them through the journey of either selling a home, buying a home, and you know, honestly, I love my job. I love what I do, and it's I get paid for it. I get paid well for it. But in reality, I'm in the networking business and I'm in the relationship building business.
I love that perspective because as so many people are. Well, you certainly have a history. It's not surprising. Well, you've been
Mhm.
in real estate, for a long time, really since I've known
Mhm.
you. How many houses have you, because I know since I've known you, has to be at least 3 since I've known you, maybe 4, but you how many houses have you flipped?
12.
12? Not
Yeah.
I mean, you're not like, that old. Ariane is
Yeah.
probably 10 years younger than me, so that's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you have a
Can
favorite?
be Oh, a favorite. Oh my gosh. I have favorite stories.
Well, tell me
I
one of
love
your
them
favorite
all.
story tell me one of your flipping favorite stories.
Okay. So, I started out just flipping, just regular real estate. And then somehow I got involved in hoarding real estate and had a
Like
phone
people who
call.
are hoarders. Okay.
Yes, yes. And as
Mm.
we know, as you know, my mother was a hoarder. My mother was, she hoarded strange things like Star Trek collectibles and Star Wars collectibles and
Like, let me level set for our audience because I did not see the house, but I have seen the gigantic pole barn full
Mhm.
of it is like warehouse level of Star
Correct.
Trek, types of memorabilia.
Yes, took me moving trucks, plural, to
Yeah.
get that all to a consignment shop. And but so I had a little bit of a unique perspective on people who hoard and that mindset because it really is an unresolved trauma in their life. And I was brought into this particular transaction because the daughter was a friend of a friend of mine, and she's like, this girl, and I try not to ever use people's names because it is, we do that. We don't want to use names and out
Yeah, it's just
people.
respect, yeah.
Yeah, it is. And mom was very sick at the time. She'd been in and out of rehab, and she had COPD, and she is still to this day one of my favorite people. We got there, nobody'd been in the house in 19 years. The house was filled. And it looked like the day she'd been through some traumatic events in her life, and for probably 19 years nobody had been there. So when I walked in, she was living in a chair because that was the only room she had left. You couldn't walk through her home. And at that point I knew it was not just going to be a simple I take possession of this home. We had to make sure that mom had a safe space to go. She had animals in the house with her. We had to make sure the animals were going to be cared for. And then how do we go about, at this point the house was a biohazard. um, she'd had several dogs pass away. And the dust, the dirt, the mold, the animals. We had 78 animals removed from the house, including 5 raccoons. She had live raccoons living in the ceiling with her that were eating through the ceiling. And you know it was a difficult one, and she was so sweet. And I remember after seeing the house and the condition it was in, I called her son was the one that I ended up doing most of the business dealing with, and I was just in tears. And I'm like, listen, I don't care if you sell me the house, but you have to help your mom. Yeah, there's something drastically wrong. She's cooking on a stove that is filled with feces from mice, and they're eating her food. She has no safe food. At that time, she did not have running water or electricity. And this is Michigan in the winter.
Oh my god.
And I'm like, I don't know how she's using the facilities. I don't know how she's cooking anything. And I'm very worried about your mom's safety at this point. So, and it was so emotional. He had been gone for a long time. And anyway,
Well,
so I,
especially with you having had, you had I don't know if this was before or after your mom
yeah,
passed, but you had a mother who you could completely empathize, you could relate
yeah,
to what was going on. What does it take,
absolutely.
Ariana, when you have a place like that? What does it take to get it to the point of I'm gonna actually sell it to somebody? Because to me, I hear you talking about all of this stuff, and I've seen the TV shows, and I
Hmm.
think just gut it.
Yeah.
Be like your dad, take a bulldozer to it
Yeah.
and just get rid of it.
This one was close to that. This one was close. We had to bring in a team that came in. I think there was 4 of them, and it took a day and a half just to get through the first floor of stuff, pulling out straight into the
Yeah.
dumpster.
Yeah,
And
there's no sorting at this point. I would think that, sometimes we watch there's a show in the US called, I don't know, Hoarders Buried
yeah.
Alive or something like that. And sometimes, depending on the state of the
Hmm.
hoarding, people are very for their trauma reasons, right? They're very
Hmm.
unwilling to give up anything. So you try to do this. To us, this seems logical. We're
Right.
gonna keep some stuff, but we're gonna or give away some stuff.
Hmm.
But this sounds like a situation where, I mean, what would you even keep?
There was nothing that you
So we're losing you a
on
little
top of.
bit. Oh, sorry, we lost you just for a second there. Are you still with us, Ariana?
Sorry, are we reconnected? Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, must be a little bandwidth.
Okay. Perfect. Sorry. Thinking a
No,
little
that's
bit.
okay.
My computer's a little old.
Yeah, no worries.
So,
So yeah,
but
so yeah, I think we cut out
yeah.
when you were just talking about that. Was there anything to save really?
Not really. And nor would I, in good conscience, be able to donate anything that had been covered in mouse and rat feces because somebody else who has breathing issues, or this is the transaction that I found out that, the raccoon poop has something and it's like brain worms and they tunnel through the dust, get in your eye and then eat your brain. Like it's a thing. Like I had no
Well,
idea. So
we did. You knew when you came onto the show we were going to talk about the good, the bad, and the fucking ugly of what it's like
that's
to
right.
be. So yeah, so fast forward me to what you
Yeah.
kind of did, and give me
Yeah.
a happy outcome from this. I hope.
So there was a great happy outcome. I had to do a little bit more gutting than originally thought. We found some fires, but we were able to gut,
Wait, wait, wait,
pull
wait,
out.
wait, 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 wait. You found
Yeah.
actual burning fires? Is that what
So yeah, remember the raccoons in the attic and the squirrels and the rats? They were eating the wiring and causing fires in the attic. So yeah, it was all kinds of fun. But I flipped it. I made a profit and I was able to put a new family in there.
Mm,
And it was important to me, fix the house right. Because if I won't put my family in it, I wouldn't expect you to put yours in it. So
love it.
yeah, it was happy, happy, happy. And it was the house actually I just saw just sold. They kept that house for almost a decade and they just
Oh,
sold it I
nice.
think last year.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
okay, so
Yeah.
I want to flip over
So
to what you're doing right now. I asked you the last time you
mhm.
and I talked on the phone. I asked you about your craziest story, and you said, "I'm in real estate. I could give you a top 10." So, can you tell us just maybe one or
Mhm,
two of the So now you're in the business of helping people buy and sell houses. Tell me what are some
mhm,
of the crazy things that you've seen in those types of transactions. Not you're flipping necessarily, but you're helping
mhm.
people.
Where I have to keep a straight face and be the professional? When I really,
Exactly.
I mean, there's times I want to make jokes. Um, Let me see. There's the time that we walked into a home and the son, well, it was actually a college dormitory, so the young guy was home. None of his friends had told him that the house was being shown. My client and I, she was a single lady looking to start her investment career. We walk in and all of a sudden the blankets start moving and we both scream because we're in a house alone and the blankets are moving on the bed. It's a big pile, like it's blankets and clothes. Like they literally picked everything up off the floor and dumped it on this bed, covering their friend who apparently had been out drinking the night before. And I want to tell you, this motherfucker sits up butt ass naked and is like, "Oh hey, just like what's up?" And then he's
Oh,
like, "I don't feel so good." And I'm like, "Oh,
no, no,
hell
no.
no." I'm like, "Sir, we will be waiting for you outside. Please get dressed and exit the house." And
Who do you get
we,
angry at? Who do you get angry at when that happens? Because clearly the guy didn't know that somebody was going to come in. I mean, are you
mm-mm.
angry at the owners? Are you angry at the kid? Because the friends for not telling you that the guy was there.
It's all miscommunication, right? Because that agent communicates to the seller of the home, which they were renting it to this like frat house. And then whoever the frat house is has to tell everybody, well, I mean, we're talking like teenage boys here. And they're like, well, shit, my friend was out drinking last night and he's passed out in bed. What are we going to do with him?
Was
And they
it
just leave him.
disgusting? Was it disgusting in the general? I mean, not hoarder
Yes.
disgusting, but frat house. I would think.
Yes. It's
Would
one of
you
those
say yes?
houses. I will never wear shoes into someone's house because that's just respect, right? They take a lot of time cleaning and getting everything prepped and ready for me. And this house, I walked in, I'm like, yeah, we're wearing our
We're
shoes in
gonna
this
keep the
house.
shoes.
We're keeping them on.
We
Or
don't
here's
have a
some
hazmat suit
booties.
ready, so we're just gonna yeah. Oh, wow.
hmm So that's one of my favorites. And then, I mean, I can tell you about the dead body house,
Tell me
where
oh, yes, we wanna know about the dead body house.
So this is, oh, such a dear client. And, she had a not large budget, and we knew we were on a timeline, and we found this house that she loved. So I call the agent. He's like, well, I do have to disclose to you some information. And I'm like, and whenever they say that, you're like, you're in for a ride, right?
Buckle up, Ariana. We're going to get some good news
Mm-hmm.
here.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, it's been recently renovated. And he's like, you're probably going to find it in the court records. And if you Google the address, that the gentleman who lived there died in the home. And he died in the bathtub with the water running in Florida in August. And nobody found him for a while. And so what happened is the tub overflowed. The house is down here a block, right? Not like up north where they're built out of wood. So basically, it created a giant swimming pool in August and then short circuited the wiring, which caused the air conditioning to go off. And yeah, they didn't find him for a few days. So if anybody ever Googles my search history on my computer and they're like, how do you dispose of a dead body? How long does it take for dead body parts to go through the drain? They're going to think I'm a serial killer. And instead, I'm just a
It's
real
my
estate
job.
agent.
It's
Just
just
my
my job as
job.
a real
I'm like, what biohazards come and what has to be done? And so yes, it is a biohazard. They had to come in, they have to completely gut the house, redo all the air conditioning, the electrical. Um,
Do you have to I think I asked you this once, but I can't remember what you
mhm,
said. Do you have to disclose so he died naturally. If he had just
mhm,
died and nothing, went wrong as far as the water and the air conditioning, if he just
mhm.
died and they went to a funeral home, do you have to disclose that, or is it only if somebody's or do you have to disclose if somebody gets murdered in their house?
So it depends on which state. Each state law is different. And violent death, usually, yes, you have to disclose, because then if you don't disclose that, people come back later and they're like, what the hell? Some woman was murdered in my
You mean the
bedroom.
ghosts come back later? That's because that's when I would be worried
We can talk about that too.
about.
Yeah, that's when the ghosts come back. And yeah, you do, if it's violent murder, we do. And by the way, if it's a violent murder, anybody who Googles that address is going to pop all that up. And
Yeah,
then it creates a lot of friction because they're like, oh, why didn't the seller disclose this up front? And why weren't they honest about it? And it creates that feeling of distrust right away and then makes
sure.
the entire transaction difficult. Um, I like to disclose. And also, you don't have to disclose. So, the 6 degrees of separation at some point in a transaction. And that's why, like with cars, with salvage titles, people, they'll flip, 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 because then it cleans the title, it cleans all that. So some people will do that with homes because then if you don't have that factual knowledge, you don't have to disclose that.
Gotcha, gotcha. So
So,
you could be, like you said, 6 degrees.
yeah.
I have to ask you because you brought it up. Have you ever had
Hmm.
any situation where there
Yeah.
could be a possible haunting or purported haunting that you had to? I mean, and do you have to, if somebody says, my house, I experience these weird things, do you have to disclose that? I mean, people either believe or don't believe. So,
Once again, it depends on the state. I if something was super super haunted, first of all, bitch, I'm not listing that house. I ain't going in there. Mm-mm. Like, I do not fuck with the supernatural. Like, no, we are all at peace here. We do not bring that bad juju. We do not. I mean, if it's a nice happy haunt, maybe,
oh,
but
Casper.
yeah. So state by state, those rules change. Yeah, and I mean, if it's like a noxious nuisance, the neighbors all know. Everybody's talking. You want to be upfront about that. And that's an ethical and a moral thing, I think, for most agents. You'll see like all the funny haha things on Zillow, like house not haunted on the top of the sign. But to be fair, that actually appeals to some people. That if you advertise this house is haunted, you're actually going to get a buyer.
Oh,
I mean, truly, there is a house
yeah.
for everyone who wants to live there with the supernatural, and they want that. There is truly a
Look
buyer
at
for
how many
everyone.
people go to
You know.
what is the hotel that they did The Shining in? The Overlook Hotel, right? People go to places like that that are reported to be haunted. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I used to be a ghost hunter for 10 years, so I we went to some of
Yeah.
those places too. Do you prefer
Yeah.
buying, representing a buyer or a seller? You do both? You do both, right?
Mhm. I do both. 90% of my business is the buy side. I really enjoy working with buyers. Listing it's a complicated process and there's a lot of nuances to it. I just enjoy the buy side. I enjoy negotiating. It makes me happy. Like I love it. Like please put me in a room full of people and just let me at them. Let me get what I can get out of, I love it. I think that it's it's fun for me. It's a game for me, which probably says something about my mental status, but and it's true. I mean, I look at it as, I work with a lot of like VA buyers and home buyers and older people that are at a disadvantage anyways in these markets. And I think that um, helping them out and making sure that they're not being taken advantage
Yeah,
because they get taken advantage of all the time by people. And that's one rule. I refuse to ever calculate a commission until I've closed a home because once I start calculating the commission, I'm no longer working for my client, I'm working
yeah.
for myself. And then I'm not doing like I just negotiated $250,000 off the price of a home and and then I got my paycheck, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, well shit.
Aw, you know what? It's all right. It's
Like,
all
yeah,
good. It's
yeah,
all good. Um, I just wanna
it's
check
all
in real
good.
quick with our comments here, because there's a little bit of a delay, and
Uh,
sometimes the context gets lost if I wait too long. In Sweden, you always this
yeah.
is from Stella. In Sweden, you always take your shoes off both at home and as a
Mhm,
guest. You can bring indoor shoes or slippers if you don't wanna walk around in socks, most do when casual. I like that, the shoe thing is
mhm,
and here in the US, it is, I think, regional where it's, like, if you go to Hawaii, you're
mhm.
taking your shoes off when you go in, right? In
Correct.
Michigan, it
Yeah.
was kind of 50-50 for me, like, some of my friends were, "Take your shoes off."
Mhm,
Our house was always, "Just leave your shoes
mhm,
on." But I do, annoys me is if somebody would say and I've never had this happen, but I love the idea of being able to bring my own shoes or slippers because I don't really like
mhm,
walking around in stocking feet or barefoot. So I always bring if I go
mhm,
to somebody's house that I know, I always bring some shoes. When you were growing up, Ariana, were you guys
mhm.
shoes off or shoes on people?
We were shoes off. My mother believed in grounding yourself on the earth. So which was actually worse because then we were outside with no shoes and we'd come inside and bring the dirt in on our feet. But I grew up mostly barefoot. I would say probably half of my life. I don't wear shoes hardly ever. I don't
Probably
like
healthier.
them. I mean, I even run on the treadmill
Oh my
barefoot a
god, it's
lot.
probably
So,
healthier. People
yeah.
sometimes will say to me who are very people because people it's like, a lot of things, people are really, really die hard. Mine is to each their own. It's your choice if you want
Hmm.
people to take your shoes off, but please allow me to bring my clean slippers, because, sometimes,
Hmm.
people have, feet issues and stuff. But, I
Yeah.
people would say to me, the diehards would say, "Well, do you know what you're bringing in the house on your feet?" And I'm like, "You know what? Do you know that I have a Labrador retriever who eats poop and walks around on, shit and poop in the yard all the time and brings all kinds of stuff?" So, for me, having a dog,
Yes.
it's just
Yeah.
like, I can use that as my excuse is like, I don't want my feet touching what
Mhm.
she's touching. Anyway,
Mhm.
so hey, I wanna
Mhm.
go back to buying and selling. So
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
would you say if you were to look at it from both the buying representing a buyer and representing a
Mhm.
seller? What are the things if there's 1 or 2 things for, let's start with buyers, like because you said you do 90% of you are
Mhm.
representing a buyer. What are
Yeah.
some things there or maybe 1 or 2 things that you wish buyers would do differently generally or a lot of them that would make the process so much easier?
Get pre-approved.
I just saw an article about
Just
that.
go talk to
Yeah.
your lender.
Yeah, I've heard that
Part of
too. I've
that's on
heard
us
that
as agents. We don't patients. Mhm. Yeah. It's get pre-approved. I mean, I refuse to show people houses unless they have a pre-approval. And I know that sounds people are like, "Oh yeah, I got," and then we find out they're approved 25. And let me tell you, if you're showing someone $1 million house and all of a sudden taking them to a house, woo, you think you're going to have a happy client at the end of that? Mm-mm. And somehow you take the brunt of that.
yeah. I've heard that too,
Mhm.
and, It makes sense to me, and aren't there different types of approval that you can get? Especially,
Yeah.
by the way, for those of you who are listening who are not in the States, it is
Yes.
so tight here in a lot of markets still, really since COVID. It still is here in Central Virginia. I live in a very highly desired neighborhood. Stuff is I don't and I walk my dog these roads
Hmm.
every day, and so I see who has a sign out and how long it's out before it's pending on, because I'll immediately look up if somebody comes on, and often I will, one day it's not for sale. The next day I'm seeing the for sale sign and it's already pending and contingent. So depending on where
Correct.
you are, so people, so sellers are, they're getting multiple offers and they are looking at who's going to give me the most reliable, quickest, whatever,
Hmm.
and it's probably, you tell me if I'm wrong, it's probably not always highest price.
No, no. And that's, oh my gosh, that's like the second most important thing you can tell a buyer is there are several different ways to negotiate a contract to make it a little more attractive to that seller. And so the first thing I do is I call that selling agent and ask them what their seller's needs and wants are. Because, in order for us to have a peaceful transaction, like maybe they need an extra 30 days after close, or maybe they're looking for a quick 14-day close. But when I have that information and then I can relay that to my buyers, it's just a more peaceful and so many. Well, first of all, I got to get the other agent to pick up the goddamn phone and call me back, like, damn, do you know that one in every 16 people in the state of Florida are a registered real estate agent?
A what?
Yes.
Wow.
And girl, your number three thing as a buyer or seller, ask your agent, is this your full-time job? Or is this something you do part-time? Because that matters.
Well,
Are they properly
Well,
trained? You know?
interesting, 'cause what you just said about, finding out the seller's wants and needs. So we bought our house in 2020, which was when it was just start getting, we were so lucky because another few
Mm,
months and we would have added probably 50,000 onto the price of the house.
mhm,
But it was still pretty competitive and there were multiple offers. So two things. Number one is the basement had, part of their agreement was, the seller was, we will recarpet the basement before we close.
mhm.
And since they had multiple offers, the guy came back and said, well, what do you think about, I could tell he was kind of fishing for, it would sweeten the pot a little bit if you just said you would do it. And so we just said, yeah, we'll take care of the don't worry about it. And we ended up getting the house. The other thing that surprised me, and now this is in Virginia, it
Mhm.
surprised me. Now, we've bought 3 houses. This is our third. The first 2 houses first one was a first time buyer. We put a very small amount down, and same with the second one. Not high price houses. This one I had been saving and I'm like, no, I'm going to put, and so I wanted to put 20% down, which is what I'd always heard. That's what you do in a normal,
Mhm.
remember, this is a normal market, not like a super hot market
Yeah.
like we're at right now.
Yeah.
And the agent said he can count on one hand in, I don't know how many decades he'd been working, that people put 20% down. And that really shocked me. I
Mhm.
mean, is that
That's
normal?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are so many different types of loans and so many different ways to work that financing. And by the way, do you know? So there's some little tricky ways. So even if you're not a first time home buyer, you can still use an FHA loan. That doesn't mean anything. You just have to qualify for it, and most people can qualify. And that's like 3% down. So what if, let's just say, you had to put $80,000 down, but what if you only had to put $40,000 down and you took some of that other $40,000 because you want to do some home renovations, right? So you want to save some of that as cash. You don't have to put it on your card. So you're saving like 20% interest there. But what if you took a little bit of that? Or even better yet, if you were working with me, I'd ask the seller for some concessions to buy down your interest rate. So instead of saving 10,000 or 20,000 up front off the cost of the home, you are saving that over the entire 20 years of your loan. So think about it. If you save a point, so if that saves you 500 bucks every month,
That's a lot.
$500 over 20
Yeah.
years, right? There's so many different ways to work financing, and we're not taught that anymore in school. And that's where, like, I work with a fabulous lender, and I will tell you, just like baby, I stay in my dance space, they stay in their dance space. And if you have financial questions, I always say go see a lender because each situation is different. But there are ways that I can help kind of guide them along and making sure that they get that. Because I tell people all the time, I'm like, take the commission or take the concessions and take a smaller amount down and use that to buy, especially right now with interest rates going over
Yeah.
7% now. And by the way, on those higher priced homes, so fun fact, higher priced homes usually sell for cash. They don't usually have a loan on them. So 2, 3 million and up, usually it's a cash purchase.
Wow.
It's not, we're not talking, so those people are less affected by things like tariffs or interest rates because they're paying cash. They're losing
That's
money,
amazing.
right?
That is a shocking, statistic.
And
Let me ask you this. So
yeah,
you talked about the buyers, it's, get pre-approved. From a
mhm,
seller perspective, what do you wish that more sellers would do?
yeah. Honestly, they need to see a therapist because so I'll tell you this, there's two people you work with and they're usually married to each other. One's usually an emotional and one's usually an analytical. You have to be able to put aside two different areas and understand where they're coming from. When you work with sellers, it's a large emotional attachment to that home. They've raised their children's there, mom died there, blah blah. It's difficult. So you have to find out what their motivation is for selling because they just, and then they love their house. They become nose blind, right? So you walk through and you're like, oh, the walls need to be painted. Like these are a little, and they're like, oh, it's like you have to be very careful not to offend them. So I always tell them, have some friends come over, have them walk through the house as a buyer and then you can watch their faces and see, do your carpets need to be replaced? Is there a smell of dog? And for the love of God, if you're going to have all those stupid little plugins, please don't have
Dead
like
giveaway.
coconut breeze in one room and eucalyptus in
Dead
another.
giveaway for
At
cats.
least make it consistent. Yes. Oh my
Well,
Lord. So I
on that
think,
same note, my husband and I, when we sold our first house, we had initially had a realtor, and she had it on, and it wasn't moving. We had already kind of almost. I think we had moved to Virginia at that point. So we ended up getting another realtor. This was a realtor. The first one was, we got it for free through our insurance, and then just we ended up, it wasn't
mm,
anything bad. We just ended up getting a different one. And the first thing that she said to
mhm,
us is that and it was, we had cleaned the entire house. It was empty, right? Slightly staged.
yeah,
And she said, the first thing you need to do is get somebody in here to do a deep clean because it smells like dog. Now, our dogs didn't pee in the house. It wasn't an
mhm,
overwhelming smell like a cat piss smell, but she could
mhm,
smell, when you live with animals and it
mhm,
gets into the walls, and there's just
yep,
hair probably in the ducts and stuff.
mhm,
And she said, it's not horrible. She said, but I can tell walking in here as not a pet owner, I can tell that you probably had pets in here.
mhm,
And so we did. We spent, like
yeah,
$400 or something at the time too. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
yeah. No, no, that's exactly. And I wish more real estate agents were honest and set those expectations because that's a big turnoff for buyers coming in. Um, we get that a lot. And then I think some of my other things are the number one thing I would tell sellers, um, put away your sex toys.
What is buzzing in this drawer? What is this going on here? What?
Uh-huh. When I tell you, and I don't mean like just like stick them over on your
Yeah,
bedside. Put away your lube. Put your shit away, please, in a box in the bottom of the closet. Because by the way, buyers are nosy. Even though they're not buying your dresser, they're still going to open your shit up and
oh,
look
oh
through
yeah.
it, right? Like come on, like, and I mean some of the most stolen items are guns and ammunition, jewelry, medications, and people leave these things just
No.
sitting out willy-nilly, and it's difficult. And that, I mean, that is why of course I get paid to show a house because you're trusting that I will be watching my clients and not allowing them to go through your personal things. But bitch, I'm nosy too. I want to see. I'm going to open stuff up. I'm looking in your fridge and I am judging your life choices right now.
Oh, totally. I always
I'm just
opened the
saying.
fridge. I mean, if you see the big purple dong sitting on
Mhm.
the bedside, I mean, yeah, that
Right,
but
right.
it's amazing what people, I mean, Sean and I, My husband and I,
Hmm.
we this is our third house, so we've done a lot of house shopping in two different states, and it was shocking to me sometimes where we walked into one house, immediate cat piss. It was like, and
Hmm.
we're like, no, I'm not even going
Hmm.
in. Like, how do you not? But as you said, the plugins, dead giveaway to
Hmm.
something is going to
Correct.
be
Yep.
something is being hidden. Something is being hidden. But
Yep. It is
all
so
right, so
true.
we're getting close on time. I can't we can't be
Yeah.
done without talking about, because I've hinted at this and I don't even remember your role. Let's talk about your Disney cast member. Tell me, because I don't even remember. I know
Yeah.
you probably have told me about this, but I don't even remember what that was all about. Tell me.
So I was a team lead, which is kind of like an assistant manager up in Lansing, Michigan. And of course, that's where I met the fabulous Dwayne.
Mutual friend.
And yep, yep, I met him there. And so basically we had at that time Disney Store was like a huge thing. It was in all the malls and it was fabulous. I spent 8 years there and I worked through the transition when it went to Hoop Retail, which was the children's place, and then back into the Disney hands. I quite enjoyed and loved, oh my gosh, the stories that I could spend an hour talking about things that, you know, I was a white glove certified guest service. I got to help people plan their trips and do their park tickets and, make the magic
Yeah.
happen for people who came in. And I loved it. I got to work in two different stores within the Lansing community. And then when one store closed, I was there for that store closing to help that management team, and which was so sad. And then they closed our store, but I absolutely love that. We had such magical experiences. In fact, strangely enough, one of my favorite guests, it was an older gentleman and his wife, and they would come in and pick out they were like pin traders and beanie babies,
Oh yeah.
back in
Oh
that
yeah.
whole like,
Yeah.
and we struck up, we had such a great relationship. And I was sad to find out, a couple years after the store closed, I'd lost contact with him, that he had passed. But I found one day I was sitting, when I was in Old Town, I sat on their commercial association board, and there was this lady that everybody's like, you got to meet her. She's as tall as you are. And I was like, nobody's as tall as I am. I top out at 6 foot.
Yeah.
Well, I met her. She was absolutely fantastic. We started talking, and I was like, "Oh, so and so, you have such a unique last name." I used to work at the Disney store, and I had the bet, and I was like, I was kind of reminiscing with her, and she's like, "Oh, that was my
Oh,
grandfather," and I'm
what?
like, "Oh, I
That's a
know," and I
thing.
was so absolutely, yeah, I was thrilled. And, Disney was such a magical experience to work there, learning just the training that Disney goes through. You can get your master's or your doctorate in customer service, well, guest servicing.
It's an empire.
And
It just in the outside of the actual park stuff is just an empire. You've been to Disney
it is.
World, I know, a number of times. Is it changed? I mean,
Mhm.
what? And I know it has.
Oh, so much. Oh my gosh. Disney World is roughly, that's the one in Orlando, not the one in California, that's Disneyland. So the one in Orlando is like roughly the size of Manhattan. It's huge. It's 35 square miles, and I believe it's still growing. So, they've opened up new theme parks. They've announced all kinds of new, oh my gosh, there's so much going. They're supposed to be doing this new villains park, which, hello, yes, please. Let's let the girls have a I mean, we all have a lot of trauma
Yeah.
in our lives. Some of us, you know, we just need to be heard and understood and seen, right? And so, yeah, it's changed a lot in that time period. I've never worked down here at the World. I've only ever worked at the stores. So,
I've heard it's
yeah,
changed a little
but
bit too with, I mean, it's just maybe grown so much that it's, the rumors of the things like the super long lines, which I guess you expect in any major, attraction, but I've never been,
mhm.
but that's a whole other story. I do want to ask you a couple more questions. So I want to shoot back to
Yeah,
real estate here if you have a little bit of
mm,
time.
yeah.
Again, in the interest of passing on the wisdom to folks out there, because I know a lot of people I have in my next life, Ariana, I'm gonna be a house flipper
Mhm.
because I just love the shows and I think it sounds so cool.
Yes.
But if you were
Yes.
not doing what you do right now, if someone,
Mhm.
whatever came down or mandated and said, "You can't do this anymore, Ariana. You cannot do real estate, you cannot buy and sell, and you cannot flip homes," what would you do?
Oh my g I that is such a great question. That's like asking someone what they wanna be
Right,
when they
well,
grow
what
up,
did
you
you wanna
know?
be when you grew up when you were little?
I mean, a bougie rich woman who just travels the world? Is that a job? Like,
Well,
is that how do
nowadays
I
it
get
is
that
because
job?
you can just get on social media and, here I am, I'm in Greece with, my,
Yeah,
olive and my
yeah.
martini.
So well, strangely enough, I wanted to be in the travel and tourism business. So when my mom got sick, I was in college to become a flight attendant and to get licensed and become a travel agent at the time, because we didn't have, the internet back then. And I had applied and gone into several recruiting for, flying because I'm like, oh my God, they're going to pay me to fly to beautiful
Right.
locations. Like, this is nuts. And then unfortunately, I found out at the time, there was very strict rules about uniforms, and I was too tall. I wouldn't fit into a cabin in their 2-inch heels. I wouldn't
Oh,
clear the
yeah.
exit sign. It would become a danger, and I had to wear the 2-inch heels. I couldn't wear flats at the time, which would allow me to
Oh.
clear. So,
Well, you were
yeah,
too tall,
yeah,
I
but
was too chunky, so they've relaxed a lot now, but back in the day, if I had thought about that, it would be like, "Yeah, no. No,
Mhm.
sorry, chunky
Yeah,
girl."
yeah.
And my
I think
That sounds
Trev.
great. I love that because 'cause I've thought about being, in the back in the day, I could be a dr how great would it be to be a travel writer? This was even before the internet. Okay, and my other question
Yes.
is, you've basically been in entrepreneurship, you've been flipping houses, you've been in real estate some way or another for many, many years, decades. What is
Mhm,
one thing if you could if you could tell yourself something back then, or is any what
mhm.
you would wish you would what do you wish that you would have known back then that would have maybe made life easier?
Oh, that is such a loaded
Is that
question,
another
isn't
top
it?
10?
That's like another top 10 list of things. Easier. I think I would have told myself just to be kinder to myself and give myself more grace. I'm my hardest critic, and when things go bad, I tend to really beat myself up. So I've kind of taken on this new mindset the last few years where I realize that my business and my professional life is so tied to my own personal mental health and physical health. It's like this trifecta of being. So I think I would tell myself to be kinder to myself and then to invest in, I don't know, like Apple
Sure.
stock or
Everybody, right,
Tesla,
yeah,
before he was
yeah.
crazy, like invest, do some things. And then I think I would have encouraged myself to build a team and surround myself. My theory is always be the stupidest person in the room and surround yourself with smart people and learn from them. And I tell people, like, whenever I'm like coaching or talking, I tell people, I'm like, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. Well, I
So,
love that too, and it's such a again, I talked earlier, about, my testament of you're the first person on the show that I've actually met in person, and having such a vast and deep, amazing global, network is just something that you don't think about. I say this about anybody, even if you're in
mhm,
your corporate, because I think people who are in traditional jobs, whatever they are, you take
mhm,
for granted that you have your network, right? You know all these people, and it's true, it's
yeah,
great. 23 years in a traditional professional job, and I love the people were the best part of it. But I'm so grateful that I really started building a network before I got into, leaving corporate because when I got out, and so many people
mhm,
do, I know I talk to them and they're job hunting and they don't even know they're barely on LinkedIn and
mhm,
they haven't really
yeah,
connected even with people that they know, they haven't retained those
yes,
connections. And so yeah, 100%.
yeah,
Folks out there, if you have
yeah.
any final comments or questions for Ariana, please put them in now. We're going to be wrapping up in a second. So, Ariana, before we do wrap up, what would you like your listeners to know? Do you have anything coming up? What is the best way to get in touch with you? And of course, as always, we will put all your info in the comments.
Give me a jingle. Like, give me a call.
I do have your info. I'm gonna
I
put it up
answer.
here. So
Yeah. I'm on, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on all the socials. I honestly, I'm not really active on social media.
good. Good for you.
I don't have a lot of time. It gets kind of, so yeah, I always tell people if you have a question, reach out to me. I'm always available by phone. Unless I'm with a client, I always answer.
And she does
And
because
yeah.
I reach out. You're one of those people that I know if I go and even just reminders of this show, I went out to LinkedIn Messenger because I'm just so
Mm,
used to, I'm not sure where they're going to most respond. And you're like both of them, like, yep, I'm here.
mhm.
I've acknowledged you.
Yep. Yep. I got you,
Love
girl.
it.
Yeah.
Final messages. Stella Scott says, "What a story!" I think she was talking about your story about the grossy story about the guy who died. And she says, "I know people wiping their dog's paws after walking." Yeah. You know what,
Hmm.
Stella, good for them. That's just crazy
Yep.
talk for me, but because I don't know that my lab goes in and out so many times a day. I don't know that I would have nothing
Mhm.
left, no time left to do, if I had to wipe her paws
Mm-mm.
off, but you know what? I appreciate the people
Yep.
that do that. Ariana, thank
Yep.
you so much for being such an amazing guest on the show. Of course, I love you. I'm so biased, but it was so much fun to have you on here and talk about. I love when my guests get into like the real. I mean, you got into the real ugly, and I love that because it's just what people need to know this. People need to know like you're going to go into real estate, you're going to encounter a house that's that somebody died
Mhm.
in, and maybe it doesn't have a great
Mm.
history. So, but I'm also really
Yep.
impressed by how you just and I've known this ever since I've known you. You just start something new, you master it, you put your heart and soul into it, you never look back. And I just love that about you. So thank you so much for being on the
Mm.
show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you and I love it so much. I just love it. I love watching you. I love
Oh,
listening to
thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. All right, folks, next week we have my very special guest, Seamus Corey. So, Seamus Corey is returning for part two of his incredible story. If you did not
Mm.
see part one of Seamus's journey in episode 16 earlier this year, please go out and watch the replay on YouTube. You could even skip forward for all of the fun stuff that we talk about and really get to the meat of this incredible story. Seamus's father made a promise to God when Seamus was a sick newborn. He had a 50-50 chance of living. His father told God he would give Seamus to the priesthood if God saved him. So for 16 years, Seamus was groomed to be a priest, basically since birth. But when he finally arrived at the seminary, the experience turned out to be very different than what he had expected, and not in a good way. So, after 7 years of traumatic situations and many challenges, even questioning his own existence, Seamus decided to leave the priesthood, nearly took his own life, finally reached out to a friend for help, and that's where we left off in part one. Part two continues his journey because, believe it or not, is heart wrenching as that story was, part two, his journey in learning how to be a totally new person that he had no idea how to be, is even more heart wrenching. So he had to start a life that he had no idea how to live. It is not to be missed. I hope you can join us. If you are watching on LinkedIn now, please connect if you're not, both with myself and my lovely guest, Ariana Gibbs. If you are on YouTube, please like and subscribe. So much appreciated. If you have any additional questions or feedback, please leave in the comments or you can DM one of us, and congratulate yourself for getting real about your career, your purpose, and your passion. Miss Hattie Arbuckle, Ariana Gibbs, and I now bid you a fond farewell. Take it easy, and don't forget, I got a little surprise for you right now. So thank you so much for joining.
Let's have a chat about careers, life, and all of that.
Well, that was fun. All right, time to go make some bacon.